All right, we're going to learn how to put data in a spreadsheet. So in the future, when you're accumulating data, you want to put it in a Google Sheet. Everybody has access to a Google Sheet, right?
Make
Or
sure
an
you can
Excel
see it.
spreadsheet.
Here, wait.
So
One more
what
second.
title? Okay, let's put a title. So what is the title of this spreadsheet? We're doing this
Apple mummies.
Apple Mummies. So up here you put the title. We'll call it Apple Mummies Data. Okay, so that's the file name that the Google will use to save it under. But on your spreadsheet itself, you also need to have a title. What else do you always put on top of your worksheet if you're handing something in? What do you want to put up there?
Your name.
Your name.
Date, yes.
Date. So I'm just typing that in. Now you'll notice y'all have typed on Google Documents and stuff, right? You just type sentences and it goes on and on. You can make paragraphs. Okay. Everything on a spreadsheet is referred to by a cell. A cell has an address. So this is one cell. The column is A, and I don't think this, you can see the row names. The rows are 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So every cell, can you all see the rectangles? The lines are a little faint, but these are all rectangles. Each one is a cell. Each cell has an address. So this cell is A1. This cell over here is I1 and I2. So every cell has an address. And you can use that cell address to go back and refer to that cell in formulas. Wish I could do that. So the Apple Mummy information that you accumulated, you had column title, it was cup. You just type that in there.
The different combos, like baking soda in one, table salt, sodium
You had
chloride.
mass.
Yeah.
Before. And then you had various names, right? You had your names. We'll just go name 1, name 2.
But there were week 1, week 2 data.
Oh, you had week 1 and week 2. Okay, so you had name 1, week 1. And we had name 1 also. Now you can go to any cell you want and you say, oh, I made a mistake. So you see how when I put the cursor on a cell, what's in that cell is also up here. You can work with that. I want this to say name 1. So I just go up there and backspace and type in 1. And then this is week 2. So you can type in a column heading at every single column. You've got your title for your spreadsheet, name, date, and you want a column heading for each column. So the first one was table salt. There was another one called washing soda. I want to show you something here. Washing soda. Laundry. You'll notice that the cell, the column A was wide enough for me to type table salt. It was not wide enough to type washing soda laundry. And as soon as I put a number in here, oh, I lose my description. So I can take my cursor and go up and grab the side of cell A. See these little arrows? This is the cursor, the cursor arrow. When you hit the side of cell A, it's going to give you this sign. It says you can make this column narrower or you can make it wider. I made it wider. Now I have room for washing soda. One of the objectives here was to come up with the average, right? Wasn't that what you're going to do?
They need to average all the data.
Every cell had a number, and we always have to remember what? After a number, we always have to have what?
Good.
Measure, right? Great. So 5 grams. This one was 4 grams. So, if I want to manipulate this data, add it, subtract it, average it, whatever, I have to use just numbers. If I type 4G, that is now a label or a word. You cannot use that in an arithmetic calculation. So I'm going to come up here to my title. I want to put in my unit of measure up here. That tells me that everything I put in that column is in grams. So put your unit of measure up here as part of your column heading. And then down here, just type 4. Just type 5 here. So now I'm putting in numbers, and I can actually do something with these numbers because they're just numbers now. They're not titles or letters. The problem is there's 4 instances here and 3 instances here. So this average represents 4 individual scores, and this average represents 3 scores. If you average these 2 together, it's meaningless because there's 4 scores represented here and 3 scores represented here. So don't average an average. You want the raw data, all the numbers, and average them together. Right, average the data you have. Don't average a bunch here and a bunch here and a bunch here and then take the averages together. Doesn't work.
And
okay, so another little thing. You want grams as the unit of measure on all these columns, right? So we can do 2 things. We can right click and copy. There we go. So you don't have to type things over and over again, you copy paste. So it's just right click on the cell, left click on copy, left click draw out the number of columns you want this copied to, right click again and left click and paste. Okay. Or this is even better if it's just the same thing. Notice the cell where my cursor is outlined in blue. And there's this little box down at the lower right hand corner. I can take that, left click on that guy and just drag it. Copies real quickly. Okay, so we're going to take a column of numbers and do some formulas. So we had.
okay, guys.
We now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of data we want to average. Okay. So what is an average? How do you calculate an average?
You add up all the numbers.
Right.
Divide it by the
So there's a couple things we can do. Make sure your cell is over, or make sure your cursor is on the cell that you want to put the average in. And we can go equal. You can write sum. Type equal. There's about 1 million arithmetic functions that you can use in Google Sheets or Excel. If I type sum, look at all the options I have. Well, I just want simple sum. You put a parenthesis in, and I can type the cell address. I can type C6 dot H6. That'll give me the, okay, so sum of C6 to H6, it's the sum of here to here. And I can divide it by how many pieces of data that I have. 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can divide it by 6. Or we can do equals sum, and we can drag our cursor from here to here and have the same thing. And I want to go back here. Remember how we can edit? I want to divide by 6. So we go up here to where it says 0 to the left or 0 to the right. See how the little description pops up? If I go to the left arrow, it decreases the number of decimal places. If I go to the right arrow, it increases the number of decimal places. So I can make this, if I want to make this tenths, I just take 1 decimal point away, just like that. You can highlight a group of cells and change the decimals. Or if I click on the column heading, it just says, do the whole column. This was adding the 6 columns of information and then counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then dividing by 6. That's a bit clumsy.
Should you do, before you do anything else, what do we need to do to that column?
You need to put a title on it.
Thank you.
Okay, so what's the title? After mass average, okay. You wanna make sure there's a title. Oh, we gotta make sure we've got our unit of measure in there. I'm just gonna drag that over. Okay, so adding this up and dividing by 6 is a bit clumsy because later on you might add another column and have more data. So there's another way we can do this. We can go equal average, if I could spell, and do the same thing. Close the parenthesis. Same number, right?
Yes.
Yes.
We'll open it up for, yep, 3.28, blah, blah, blah. So, it's easier to say equals average in all the numbers. Now, if I insert a column in here because now all of a sudden you've got 7 pieces of data, 7 weeks instead of 6 weeks, this automatically adjusts. It'll always take the average of column C through column H, and if you insert columns in here, this will readjust and still take the average. You're gonna have, you had like a dozen combinations,
Yeah, 12 or 14, I
right?
can't remember.
12 or 14, whatever.
I can't remember.
So, do you want to write this formula over and over again here, and then here, and then here?
We do not.
You do not want to write the formula over and over again. You can take, same as we copied the word grams, I want this formula all the way down here because you got data that's going to be all the way down here, right? I can just take that little box and drag the formula down, and now I have that equation. You'll see that equation is here for every row. Notice that this was average of C6 through H6. Go down to row 7. The software automatically adjusts the row number. So if I copy this formula, average of C6 through H6, if I copy that down, the next one just automatically is average of C7 to H7. Next one comes up average of C8 H8. So don't copy formulas over and over again, just either copy paste or drag the formula down the way you want it. Now, you also want to make your data tables pretty, right? You want to make them look nice. So we can go up here and we can make the title bold by hitting B. Notice that? We can make the font size a little bigger. Your title, maybe you want the font size bigger. So you've got bold, you've got italics, you've got the font size that can change. You can even change the color of the text. So we want this to stand out. We can make the title stand out by changing the color. And, all right, so do we want the word grams on the left side of the cell? All right, all your numbers are lining up here on the right. So numbers will always be right justified unless you change it. Do you know what I mean by right justified, left justified?
Which side of the cell?
Yeah, so it lines up on that side of the cell. So numbers will always be right justified unless you purposely change it. However, when you just type something in a cell, it's always going to be left justified unless you change it. So let's say I want my word grams, I want it in the center of the cell. I'm going to go up here. And this is called center. See, this is left justified, this is center, this is right justified. If I click on center, now the word appears in the center of the column.